Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Property Management 101, and today we'll be discussing best practices to consider your comps. If you find this video helpful and learned something new, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. If you've not already done so, please watch my disclosure video as well as my why I do this video. In this video, we'll be discussing the best practices to consider when you're looking at your competitors in the market and considering them, which comps you're using, which ones you're not. Mainly this video will apply to multifamily sites, but this can also apply to some single family aspects as well when using these practices. Number one best practice to consider, don't always compare. Oftentimes it's very easy to think another competitor, maybe that's right across the street or right beside you, or maybe it's a newer property that's getting all the buzz, is a property that you want to compare your property to. Keep in mind, every property may have a different strategy it's in the middle of. It may be going through a refinancing, it may be a lease up, maybe going through renovations, etc. You don't want to compare your property to one of these other properties if it's in a much different strategy setting, as you're going to have much different strategy goals and a much different position. When you do confirm your property of what you're comparing to, if it's in a similar situation, I'd really strongly look at the floor plans they offer, the unit count, and the amenities. If you're comparing your one bedrooms and you have 10 of them available and you have 96 units that are one bedrooms, it may not be a good comparable if you're comparing to a site that also has one bedrooms, but they only have 12 of them and they have 5 vacant. That is a much bigger percentage of their site, so keep in mind those differences when it comes to unit count within those different types of floor plans. Number two best practice to consider, self-reflection. Instead of putting all this time, energy, focus, and emotion of, hey, we need to get our rates more in line with our competitors, I would really recommend utilizing that time to focus on how can we provide a better level service, more value to our residents and potential residents. I've seen too many teams spend so much time and hours dissecting comps and where they feel they need to be competitive. I do think knowing your comps and knowing that market, what's going on, is important. But ultimately, residents are going to sign with you for what you offer them. Keep in mind what you do and the value you bring. If you can show that, hey, we're $50 higher, but we are worth it for these reasons, that prospective resident will most likely pick you if you show that $50 is a good value to them. And the third best practice to consider when looking at comps within your market, try to look through the eyes of a prospect. Too often I've seen owners trying to compare their asset to other assets. It's not really a good comparable. Really try to look through the eyes of a prospect. And here's a couple good practices to try to take that into consideration and do just that. The first thing I would do is go online and search 2 bedrooms and put the location of your asset. This will really show what other competitors are showing up, and then also search by rates of your 2 bedrooms. Any prospect that's looking online for 2 bedrooms within that price point is also going to see what other options they have out there for them. And even though you may not think that that product is not necessarily a good comparable to what you offer with your product, keep in mind that prospect is most likely going to consider that other property as well that's showing up within the range and the floor plan type they're looking for. They're probably going to tour that other property as well as your property, and that's the type of viewpoint you really want to take. Don't take in and fall in love with the aspect of, hey, that property is right next door. Every prospect is definitely going to consider them. They may drive by and just stop by if they're visiting your property, but don't necessarily think that the prospect is going to be viewing that property as well as yours. I hope you found this video helpful and learned something new. If you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. And if you do have any comments or questions regarding this video or any of my videos, feel free to comment below and I'll be happy to address and answer back to them. Happy leasing!